Hey, Nicholas with the Backyard Artist here with another reaction video. We're going to react to a couple of trailers here, but I am going to specify some truth here. I watched the Game Awards while I was sick. I did not record it. I was horrible and miserable in bed, barely able to watch it. Watching somebody react to it, because it was that cringe, that was the only way I could react it. And I mean, there were some truly cringe-worthy moments. And just kind of talking about, there was a point when they said that the most pinnacle of gaming, like you've heard of Golden Age, but this is the pinnacle, was for a best way to describe it is like a sign language karaoke game. You know, it's a rhythm game with sign language. Yeah, it was unique, to say the least. I just, yeah. um, Let me say, I'm not negative towards that game. That it's great that that game exists. That's cool for that. But the pinnacle, like it went from Pong to that's the pinnacle. Not the pinnacle wasn't, you know, like Super Mario World or Mario versus Sonic's Rivalry in the 90s. It wasn't Ocarina of Time 3D on the thing. It wasn't Mario Kart 8 being one of those. It's not Minecraft. It's not any of these like major franchises now. It's not Call of Duty. It's not Halo. It's not all of these like grand Mario, like all of these games get like 10 out of 10. No, this game, which is like a rhythm game for the deaf or mute, is the pinnacle of gaming. To make that it was just cheesy. There was also a thing where she's the opening hostess said that she was that she's so into esports that she got that from her father, who was into it before her, and her father and his father before him, and that they've been in for over 1,000 years. She made it sound like that, and then she made a comment like, yeah, well, you're trying to figure out that, here's the next trailer, because it was like the dumbest statement to ever make. To the whole thing with Gonzo, to what's his name, Anthony Mackie coming out totally high on some drug when he's there, Teal'c doing the whole thing about everybody had to be rushed off the stage because last year Chris Judge, Teal'c, aka Kratos, gave like a 7-minute acceptance speech, and they didn't have a system in place to take people off the stage. So they have that now, but now they're being like really rude and crude, and somebody's like dedicating it to one of their members that died, and like, nah, you gotta get off. You're at your 30-second max. And it was just, these game shows are laughable, and it doesn't celebrate gaming. It does not celebrate gaming. Gaming, like E3 would be so much closer to a celebration of gaming than this, and even that was losing its way. Yeah, there's going to be some guys in suits and stuff there, but you need to have, like, these creators need to be a little wacky, a little creative. It needs to be fun. It needs to have energy. It needs to be entertaining to that. And it's funny because you have award shows like the Oscars that movies are so old, and this cinema centric thing is just out of touch with the common audience. The common audience cares less about the Oscars. The Oscars are for Oscar, and they've essentially created a show that is that's not there for its audience. It's there for itself. And gaming is such a new form of art, a new form of entertainment. If you want to get on that, I don't know which one it is. I think it's both. I think art is part of making entertainment, but it's also a corporate thing, and not all art is art. And it should be like viewed as sacred, but that doesn't mean it's not art. If somebody pays me to draw an advertisement for Subway, that's art. It's if I was a graphic designer, it's a 9-to-5 job. It's still art, but it's also shouldn't be hanging up in the Louvre or something. There's the term is subjective, but they're so into themselves, and they're so like trying to be like the Oscars that it's just, and what I think that they should be much. It sounds corny, it sounds bad, but they should be like the Kids' Choice Awards, or they should be. And if there were gonna be anything that was like more, don't be the Oscars, don't be the Grammys, be like the CMA Awards. Like, that is a bunch of unapologetic hillbillies getting up on stage. They're having their thing, this, that. They're classy, they're doing all that, but they are not ashamed of the fact that it's country music, and they come up there in their cowboy suits and all that kind of stuff. They're not wearing tuxes and stuff because it's the CMA Awards. And that's what I feel like gaming needs to be. Why aren't none of these people wearing like wacky bow ties or something like colorful, wear a shirt with like Mario mushroom tie or something, be the Game Awards. Have some game energy. Don't be stuffy suits going. Who wants to watch that? And then have, and here's a video game trailer. Because guess what? The people going, look at the game and they go, that's what we're like. They want to hear, this person, they're so influential. They did the most amazing story from a cultural standpoint to know this. Yeah. And then have the cringe and have Gonzo, and it was bad. But 2 trailers. We have Jurassic Park Survival, and we have Power Surge Sega reveal trailer, which is kind of rolling. So we're going to start with the Jurassic Park one and then go out on the higher one. But let's get into this. Okay, first one, Jurassic Park Survival.
Off the coast of Costa Rica. Really spectacular, spared no expense. This place.
Remember, I've already seen this, but like just the feels that this brings in. John Hammond talking. We see the vehicle there. Alan's hat. See the little club hut there.
This is Dr. Maya Joshi. I've been left behind on Isla Nublar.
Now, I saw a lot of people online having a problem with her character. They tried to say that those were trans glasses. No, they're not. She's stereotypical Asian science girl, if you will, Indian science girl, like she makes sense that she would be at a facility like this in the 90s that, I don't feel like she's out of place or token placed in there. Most people, but okay, now we see this is where, like Ned received his final fate. Is that the... No, he spits afterwards, which is kind of a little weird, but runs. But I noticed, looking back at this cinematic, I think is like chopped and cut up just to kind of tell you all these story beats are going to be hit. This is not necessarily the actual game, because we're going to cut to the game in just a moment here. But then T-Rex. Okay, so we've got all the good players from the first movie. And we see here she's jumping around. It looks like you're going to be doing first person. T-Rex coming for you. Jurassic Park Survival. And there it is. There's our raptor coming out of that freezer. Coming to PS5, Xbox Series X, and PC. Yeah, I didn't think my Switch was going to play that. My PC probably won't, because my PC is a tablet, a Microsoft tablet. I did not get it for power, I got it for work. Maybe this will be the game that helps me push me over to getting a PS5. I'll probably get a PS5 whenever PS5 Pros or PS6s are out. Probably finally get a PS5 and play Spider-Man and the Ratchet and Clank game, because really those are the only two games, other than having like the Sonic versions of games that are on PlayStation versus the Switch. I haven't really had a whole lot of games that have been like, oh, you gotta have a PC, and it's like $500-600. But this game looked amazing. I'm probably gonna get this game because I want to support it, but I probably won't have a system to play it on. That said, I'm probably, as much as I want it, this isn't normally the style of game I play either, so I want to support it, and I'm going to, but I also want to watch a Let's Play of it. This seems like a game that'd be fun to watch a couple of different people Let's Play it. So, and if you're a Let's Player, keep that in mind. This is something to do. Like I said, some people cry woke at everything, and to some extent that is how raw people are. But I don't think, they had to put it, she seems perfectly fit in the world. I love the concept of, hey, they were evacuating a whole bunch of people because of the storm, but earlier in the movie, like, there's a full cast. Like, they're going through on this tour, and there's a fully staffed theme park. And at the end of the movie, there's, like, the handful of them that leave. There's probably a lot of employees that got eaten that we didn't know about. So the idea that somebody got left behind, that's such fertile ground. And it very much was like kind of Camp Cretaceous did that for Jurassic World. I feel like them exploring that with this is something they could do. A lot of people are like, oh, it'll probably be a build your own character. I don't think it will. They specifically stated her name in it. I think that this is a character that could show up in Jurassic animation. I went to the Jurassic live show. They created characters there. And when you go to like Jurassic Park right now, compared to where it was like with games in the 90s and stuff, it is trying to build out and flesh out a world of characters that can be mined for books and comics and movies and animation and cartoons and series and all of that put together. They're trying to build this world or universe. So it's, and they're trying to make it connected. And unlike something like, say, Marvel, it's not that these are major events. It's not so far stretched out that it gets hard to follow that. And it's also not like, events of where do these dinosaurs come. Like, if you watch the movies, that's the main events, and then all these other things are designed to tie into that. None of them create an event that would have to be explained in a movie, like how that happened. It's always based around the movies happened, and it had this side effect over here. And I also think that, like, the year gap that they put between Jurassic World 2 and Jurassic World 3, of all the dinosaurs being out, that could be a TV show in itself. They could do a cartoon of Owen and all that going around the world, like, and the more characters like this that they build up, the more people they can have populate such worlds. So I think this is cool. I look forward to this, and people being naysayers, just stop and start giving stuff chances. Sometimes you're burned, but don't hate everything automatically. Okay, now let's get to the really big one. Okay, Power Surge, Sega reveal trailer from the Game Awards 2023. more of the, oh yeah, this is how modern gamers are. I don't know. It's very uninsync. It's corny, but it's what it's supposed to be. We're looking around the room, and there's like all of this Sega memorabilia everywhere. There's like, oop, Jet Set Radio skateboard. Oop, oop, oop. All goes down. They picked the perfect music for this.
Of course I did.
Yeah, she saved it while the power was going out. And then the arcade unit, going back to Sega's arcade classics. Oh, like the Sega Eye. Let me reintroduce you. Oh, Jet Set, it is beautiful. This looks amazing. And then we have a 3D Streets of Rage, new era. Shinobi, looking in that hand-drawn art style. Beautiful. Golden Axe in 3D traditionally has not worked. New energy. And now here we have Crazy Taxi. This one, I love what they've done. They've added a little bit of stuff, but Jet Set Radio, Shinobi, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, and this is and more coming. These are all in development. Power the next level. Follow every move at Sega, and then the Sega Eye. Sega! I love that they ended it with that, that energy, because that was when these games were big. That was how the commercials ended, with somebody screaming Sega. So that's very important to me that they added that in there. But they are basically taking so many good points in here, so many good points, and just I've been waiting for Sega to do this for so long. This is by far the best announcement I could have expected. What saddens me is Kojima came out and Keighley basically waxed on him. I don't even think they revealed a game. Maybe they did. I was sick. I was in and out of it. But like he went on for like 10 minutes. This was 30 seconds of a basically Sega's back, and it's like, okay, and let's move on. Like he didn't even go into things like that. But like to get what this is a cross section of Genesis and Dreamcast titles. So you've got Jet Set Radio and you've got Crazy Taxi, which are your big Dreamcast titles, and then you had Golden Axe and Streets of Rage and Shinobi, 3 of that. But Shinobi did have a later 3D. Golden Axe, I think, had a 3D game on Xbox that didn't do so well. Hopefully this is better than that. Shinobi recently has had something on the 3DS that was kind of a similar identity to this, but this is going to look much more beautiful on your Switch or your PlayStation, whatever. This basically Sega has so when you look at what Sega's been lately, because everybody goes, Sega doesn't make games anymore except Sonic. Or they don't make anything except Sonic and Yakuza. That is 100% untrue. One, Puyo Puyo has been big in the last couple of years. Monkey Ball for a while there was the joke that anytime a new system launched, there had to be a new Monkey Ball on it. That is kind of Sega's MO. And yes, you have Yakuza. And you also have, they bought Atlas, which meant that they got all the Atlas games, like Persona and whatnot. And Sucker Wars has had some games recently. The other one that they've done, they've gone nuts with Yakuza, yes, but like they bought the company that makes Football Manager, and so they did Football Manager over in the UK, and they bought the company that does like Total War, and so like Warhammer and Total War, like they're doing a ton of those games. What Sega's been doing is they've been buying other companies and letting them make their IPs under Sega's name. What Sega hasn't been doing is milking their legacy IPs outside of Sonic, and then a little bit of Puyo Puyo and a little bit of Monkey Ball. But outside of that, Sonic's the only classic Sega, when they were in the console work, IP that they're doing consistently. Every now and then we'll get a Shinobi on the 3DS. We'll get a throwback game. Now, we just had a Streets of Rage. It was a fan project that they got to do this. And the success of stuff like that and Sonic Mania and stuff like that has told them, all of a sudden, the light bulb went off and says, our classic IPs are worth stuff. It's like Sega didn't know. They had this like idea that like, oh, that was the old stuff. And, you know, that's a very Japanese look at it. Like, Sega failed. So obviously their games must be failures. They need to make new games. And that was one of the things, like when they went third party and you read the what they said their mission statement is like, oh, the things we need to, you know, the big thing, they wanted to be one of the top 5 third party companies. And they said, what are the third party companies big at? Well, they're big at sports games, JRPGs, and MMOs and licensed titles. And they go, well, we don't have any of that. So they went into licensed title and they started doing the Marvel games and stuff. And I'm like, you had a whole sports game division that was 2K and you sold it off. Because you were broke, but you sold it off. Okay. So, and they end up becoming in the top 5 third-party companies. You don't. But the whole sports division you owned is one of the biggest companies in video gaming now, and you're not. You know, we don't have like any RPGs. Every Sega RPG is sitting dormant. They had a bunch of RPGs. Now, they were nowhere near Sony and Nintendo's level, but they had them. And they just let them sit. They didn't do anything with any of them. They've tried to develop new ones, and then, you know, and it was like, and then the online player. They had the first console, big, massive online open world MMO in, once again, also an RPG, but Phantasy Star Online. Went blank there for a moment. And then they made that like Japan only for the sequel. Like they basically said, oh, these are all the things we need to do. And they took every one that they had and said, well, we can't do that. And then went and did the one thing they didn't have, which was licensed games. And it was, when they made that mission statement, it's like, you like banging your head against the wall. Like, if they had continued to be the budget title, you know, one of the things that was great about Sega platforms is they were always bringing the arcade game home. And some people would go, oh, but Sega games don't have death. You know, it was that. If they were still doing that, if they were still bringing arcade style racers and they were releasing them as $30, $40 games, we were getting new Sega Daytonas, new Afterburners, new arcade experience at home. It was just a fun short thing. I think Sega would be massively known as like, oh, Sega games are fun. They're not expensive, they're not big, they're deep, but they're fun. But then occasionally there'd be exceptions to the rule. They would be their Personas, their Yakuzas, their Shamus, whatever, or their Phantasy Stars. But the fact that they're realizing just how many properties they have and the amount of worth and the nostalgia there, and the need to do them right, to not release a new gimmicky title on a handheld, in that, but actually like give these love and attention. This is like Sega as you knew it before the Dreamcast ended is back. That is what this trailer says to me. Now we have to wait and see how that plays out. But every one of those looked beautiful. They were different items. These were modern. These looked like if Sega never left the console market. These are the kind of games that would be being shown off at E3 as the upcoming this year's console lineup. That's what these games look like. And that's what we want from Sega. And so this, if I wasn't sick and I had recorded, I would have been screaming for joy. this hurt my wallet because that's going to be a lot of money. And if a bunch of these are like PlayStations, that will be what will make me buy if they're not Switch compatible or Switch 2 compatible or whatever. But, these are in development plus more. And one of the things that really annoys me is how nitpicky Sega fans and specifically Sonic fans have been lately. And I'm not, no, I have my own things. Like, I didn't like Frontiers. It was not the direction I wanted to see the franchise going. But the way people are with Superstars, different things, they really nitpick it. And yeah, I'm not of that mindset. That's no. So, you gotta support this stuff. You gotta make this stuff come back because Sega's not a huge company. Their gaming division is not a huge part of the company overall. I'm sure their pachinko line or whatever makes 10 times the amount that all of this is. So to get them to get stuff devoted to this and not to, because all those franchises that you don't think of as Sega, Persona, Football Manager, Total War, those all make Sonic level money. Those are all huge properties with big fan bases. Think about every year, and you as a Sega fan, you look and you go, that's not Sega. That's just people Sega bought. They just bought Angry Birds. Angry Birds is not a Sega property. Because it wasn't part of Sega when you were a kid. Yakuza, people like, oh, it's kind of like Shenmue, the sequel series. It's related. It's in that universe. Same with Judgment. But this other stuff, like, that's an Atlas game. That's a Crystal of this game. That's a this game. What you have to do is show that those games that you think are Sega games, you have to support them. Because if you don't, if you make them think that there's no money here, that these games don't work anymore, and like that, someone pointed out to me the Jet Set Radio didn't look shell shaded, but it still had a colorful art style, stuff like that. It looked interesting. It looked beautiful. The Crazy Taxi kind of felt like a little bit of Hot Pursuit, Need for Speed, because it was police cars and stuff like that, and it looked a little more futuristic cars and stuff. They're adding new blood. It is not just a repaint of Crazy Taxi, which Crazy Taxi 2, Crazy Taxi 3, those were basically just still Crazy Taxi down to the core. This looks like it's adding new. It's going to feel new and fresh and still nostalgic at the same time. Same thing with Streets of Rage. Streets of Rage 4 was just another Streets of Rage, but made modern-wise, where it looked beautiful and all this, but this is in 3D. That could be tricky, but this is ambitious. This is where that franchise should have evolved to and never did. I would love to see them do maybe a third-person a Vectorman, or just a regular Vectorman. It needs to be brought. Nights into Dreams. Nights into Dreams feels to me like a property that in the past when they've tried to bring it back, they tried to bring it back with gimmicks on the Wii. And I think this would be... And we recently... Samba de Amigo recently came out, and I feel like it's part of this. It's part of this initiative. It just wasn't... It was ahead of this, but it's part of what you need to support. These things, these classic franchises coming back, because, yeah, we've had the Wonder Boy games. There's just been a lot of this coming recently, and if you don't support it, it won't come back. But this has more of the Dreamcast, more of the arcade feel, because these are arcade-like Genesis games, and it's arcade-like Dreamcast games, and the essence. I mean, Jet Set Radio is the essence of the Dreamcast, in my opinion. You could argue Shenmue, but to me, it's like Sonic Adventure, Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi, and Shenmue, like that right there. Probably add in like a Power Stone or something, because there were so many great fighting games on there. But that would basically be the Dreamcast in a nutshell if you looked at it like that. Yeah, this trailer brought me so much joy. It was a horrible Game Awards, but these two trailers gave me hope for gaming. despite the mid-dribble that was the Game Awards in 2023. What did you guys think of the Game Awards? What do you think of these trailers? I know a lot of you aren't Sega fans that watch my stuff. Do you look at that? Does any of that look interesting to you? Does it look fun? Does somebody who doesn't know what the property, they don't know what they're looking at, they don't know, like Jet Set Radio is something where you're going around as a gangster, kind of like kid gangster in Japan and tagging over other people's tags but avoiding the police, and it's all to music and kind of rebellion, and it's real fun, real colorful. Crazy Taxi, obviously it's all the breaking the rules of traffic in something like Need for Speed or Grand Theft Auto or that, but it's not all the murder and hookers and all that. No, it's all about being a taxi driver and making that moolah, and getting the drive as crazy as you can to get there, just like you see in the big cities. Like taxi drivers drive nuts, and it's just kind of mocking that up to 11. Shinobi, classic, really hard, but beautiful story for kind of a ninja story, samurai story, type thing. Fun games, really hard, but that art style just works perfectly with it. And then Streets of Rage is, if 80s action movies, like if you took every Arnold and Stallone and Kurt Russell movie and said, make this a video game. That's what Streets of Rage is. It is celebrating 80s action cinema. The game. So, I mean, like, guys, like, that could be Kurt Russell and Stallone. Like, that could play the main characters in that game. That's what this is. It's fun. So for everybody right now, what a great property. Right now, well, there's so much nostalgia for like 80s properties, 80s movies and stuff like that, even though it's a 90s game, like it is 80s celebrated. And so what a great movie, a great thing to bring back. And it could be a movie. It would work. So this is just, ideas of these properties. What ones would I really want? Like, I would like Skies of Arcadia to come back. I would like Vector Man to come back. And I would really like Nights into Dreams. Like, those would probably be the main ones that aren't here that I want to see come back. Of course, I love Echo the Dolphin. I know not everybody's fans of that, but like that's another one. I also want to see Wonder Boy done in 3D. I want to see Sega come out with their own answer to Zelda in 3D. And I say that knowing that is Frontiers, but I don't want Breath of the Wild. I want a colorful, kooky, cartoony world, maybe like the cel-shaded Zeldas, but done as Wonder Boy. I think that would be amazing. There's just so many. Burning Rangers. Bring back Burning Rangers. Like, this, what Sega property would you want to see make a comeback? Let me know down in the comments below. I will catch you in the next video.